The mop made a soft sound as it moved across the polished floor. Back and forth, back and forth. Taiho pushed his cleaning cart through the Grand Commerce Hall of Station Luminara. His gray jumpsuit faded from years of washing. Around him, the galaxy's wealthiest beings conducted their business. They wore clothes made of materials that cost more than his yearly salary. They spoke in loud voices about money and power and things that mattered to important people. None of them looked at Taiho. He was invisible. Just another human cleaning the floors. A group of Velian merchants walked past him. They were tall creatures with 4 arms and hard shells like insects. Their compound eyes reflected the bright lights of the Commerce Hall. One of them stepped directly in front of Taiho's mop, forcing him to stop. "Watch where you clean, slow blood," the Velian said. His translator box turned the clicking sounds into words Taiho could understand. "Humans have such poor reflexes. It is a wonder your species survived at all." The other Velians made sounds that might have been laughter. Taiho kept his head down and waited. He had learned long ago that waiting was the safest choice. After a moment, the merchants lost interest and walked away. Still making their laughing sounds, Taiho continued mopping. Station Luminara hung in the empty space between 3 star systems. It was a place where dozens of alien species came together to trade, to negotiate, and sometimes to hide. Humans had arrived in the galactic community only 40 years ago. They were still considered newcomers, children, primitives with slow bodies and short lives. Most humans on the station worked jobs like Taiho's, cleaning, cooking, fixing things that broke. The aliens believed humans were good for simple work and nothing else. Taiho finished the Commerce Hall and pushed his cart toward the diplomatic wing. The wheels squeaked softly against the metal floor. He passed security checkpoints where armed guards barely glanced at him. Why would they? He was just a janitor. In the diplomatic wing, he found Ambassador No Yuna standing outside her office. She was a young woman with sharp eyes and a kind smile. Unlike most diplomats, she actually noticed the people around her. "Good evening, Taiho," she said. "Working late again?" "Floors don't clean themselves, Ambassador." Yuna laughed softly. "I suppose they don't. But you seem to work more hours than anyone else on this station. Don't you ever rest?" Taiho allowed himself a small smile. "Rest is for people who get tired." Something flickered in Yuna's eyes. She was smart. Too smart, perhaps. Taiho had noticed her watching him before. Not with suspicion, but with curiosity. She had seen things that others missed. Like how Taiho always seemed to be exactly where he needed to be. Like how he moved through crowds without ever bumping into anyone. Small things, but Yuna noticed small things. "Well," she said, "don't work too hard. Even janitors deserve a break." Taiho nodded and moved on. He liked Yuna. She was one of the few people on this station who treated him like a person instead of a piece of furniture. But he couldn't afford to get close to anyone. Not anymore. His next stop was Carter 7, a restricted area near the station's main reactor. Taiho had clearance to clean there because nobody else wanted the job. The radiation levels were technically safe, but most workers avoided it anyway. He was halfway through the corridor when a massive figure stepped out of the shadows. Commander Drexel was a Korvax, a species that looked like someone had crossed a lizard with a nightmare. He stood nearly 3 meters tall, with scales, the color of dried blood and teeth that could bite through steel. Drexel was the station's chief of security. He was also, in Taiho's private opinion, a monster who enjoyed hurting those weaker than himself. "Human," Drexel growled. "What are you doing in my corridor?" "Cleaning, Commander." "I have authorization." Drexel's yellow eyes narrowed. "I did not ask about authorization. I asked what you are doing here. This is a restricted area. Your kind does not belong here." Taiho kept his voice calm. "I was assigned to clean this section. If there's a problem, I can speak to my supervisor." The Korvax moved faster than something his size should be able to move. His clawed hand grabbed Taiho's collar and lifted him off the ground. Taiho's feet dangled in the air. He forced his body to stay limp, forced his hands to remain at his sides. "You contaminate everything you touch," Drexel hissed. "Your species is a plague on this station. I should throw you out an airlock and improve the air quality." Other security officers have gathered to watch. Some of them were grinning. This was entertainment to them. "Kneel," Drexel said, dropping Taiho to the floor. "Kneel and apologize for wasting my time." Taiho's knees hit the cold metal. He lowered his head. "I apologize, Commander." Drexel laughed. It was an ugly sound. See how easy they break? Humans are nothing but servants pretending to be people. He kicked Taiho's cleaning cart, sending supplies scattering across the floor. "Clean up this mess, slow blood, and stay out of my sight." The Korvax walked away, his officers following behind him. Taiho remained on his knees for a long moment. Then, slowly, he began picking up his supplies. His hands were steady. His face showed nothing, but behind his eyes, something cold was watching, calculating. Remembering later that night, Taiho sat alone in his small quarters. The room was barely big enough for a bed and a small desk. No decorations, no personal items. Nothing that said anyone actually lived here. He removed his jumpsuit and stood before the small mirror on his wall. His body told a story that his face kept hidden. Scars covered his chest and back. Not random wounds, but precise lines. Surgical cuts. Someone had opened him up many times and put him back together differently each time. He touched a scar that ran along his ribs. Beneath the skin, he could feel things that were not flesh or bone. Metal and wire and technology that didn't officially exist. His eyes flickered. For just a moment, they glowed silver, like light reflecting off a blade. Then the glow faded, and he was just Taiho again. Just a janitor. He had heard things today. Whispered conversations that others thought were private. Words spoken in shadows by people who didn't notice the man with the mop. He had heard about a group called the Void Syndicate. He had heard about weapons and explosions and a plan that would kill thousands. The galaxy thought humans were slow and weak and useless. They thought Taiho was invisible. They were half right. He was invisible, but he was not weak. And he was very, very far from slow. Something bad was coming to Station Luminara. And the janitor had already started paying attention. 3 days passed. Taiho continued his work as if nothing had changed. He mopped floors. He emptied trash containers. He fixed broken lights and cleaned windows and did all the small tasks that kept Station Luminara running. Nobody thanked him. Nobody noticed him. That was exactly how he wanted it. But now, he was doing more than cleaning. On the first day, he accidentally left his mop leaning against the door in Section 9. The door could not close properly. When a fire alarm went off 2 hours later, everyone in that section had to use a different exit. They complained about the inconvenience. They did not know that the original exit had been rigged with explosives. On the second day, Taiho spilled a bucket of cleaning chemicals in Cargo Bay 12. The smell was terrible. Station workers evacuated the area while cleaning robots dealt with the mess. Nobody was in the cargo bay when a bomb hidden inside a shipping container exploded. The damage was contained to empty space. On the third day, he reported a broken air vent in the ambassador quarters. Maintenance crews arrived to fix it. They found listening devices hidden inside. Someone had been spying on the diplomats. The devices were removed. Small accidents. Simple mistakes. Nothing that could be traced back to a janitor who was just bad at his job. Taiho knew he was playing a dangerous game. The Void Syndicate had people everywhere on this station. If they realized someone was sabotaging their plans, they would start looking for the source. And if they looked hard enough, they might start paying attention to the invisible man with the mop. He needed to be careful. But he also needed information. Park Minji worked in the engineering section. She was a small woman with messy hair and oil stains on her fingers. She spent her days fixing machines and her nights complaining about how nobody appreciated her work. She was also the closest thing Taiho had to a friend on this station. He found her in Maintenance Bay 3, elbow deep in the guts of a broken power converter. "You look like you haven't slept in days," she said without looking up. "I could say the same about you." Minji snorted. "At least I have an excuse. This converter keeps breaking down, and nobody can figure out why." She finally looked at him. Her eyes narrowed. "What's wrong, Taiho? And don't tell me nothing. I've known you for 2 years. You have that look." "What look?" "The look that says you're about to do something stupid." Taiho leaned against a workbench. "Have you heard anything strange lately? Rumors about security problems?" Minji put down her tools. "Why are you asking about security? You're a janitor. Janitors hear things. Janitors hear complaints about dirty bathrooms. They don't ask about security." She crossed her arms. "What's going on, Taiho? You've been acting weird." "Weirder than usual, I mean." He wanted to tell her. Minji was smart and capable and trustworthy. But telling her would put her in danger. The less she knew, the safer she would be. "Forget I asked," he said. "I'm just tired." Minji watched him for a long moment. "You know, when we first met, I thought you were just some quiet guy who liked being alone. But the more I watch you, the less sense you make. You move like you're afraid of bumping into things. But you never bump into anything. You work 16-hour shifts, but you never seem tired. And sometimes, when you think nobody is looking, you get this expression on your face." She paused. "Like you're hunting something." Taiho forced a smile. "You're imagining things. Maybe." She picked up her tools again. "But I don't think so." He left before she could ask more questions. That evening, Ambassador Yuna called an emergency meeting with the station's human community. About 40 people gathered in a small conference room. Engineers, cooks, medical staff, cleaners. The invisible workforce that kept Luminara running. Yuna stood at the front of the room, her face serious. "I've received classified intelligence," she said. "There's a terrorist group called the Void Syndicate operating on this station. They're planning an attack during the Unity Summit next week. All the major species in the galaxy will have representatives here. If the attack succeeds, thousands will die. Maybe more." Murmurs spread through the crowd. Fear, confusion, anger. "I've reported this to station security," Yuna continued. "Commander Drexel assured me that his team is handling the situation. He also told me that humans are not capable enough to assist with the investigation." Her voice turned bitter. "Apparently, we would just get in the way." More murmurs. Taiho stood at the back of the room, arms crossed, watching. "I'm telling you this because you deserve to know," Yuna said. "Be careful. Watch out for each other. If you see anything suspicious, report it to me directly, not to station security." After the meeting, Taiho slipped away before anyone could speak to him. He made his way to Cargo Bay 7, a mostly abandoned section of the station used for storing old equipment. He had tracked Syndicate communications to this location. He found a hiding spot behind a stack of broken machinery and waited an hour later. 3 figures entered the cargo bay. 2 were species Taiho didn't recognize. The third was a Korvax. Not Drexel, but one of his officers. They spoke in low voices, but Taiho's enhanced hearing picked up every word. "The commander is getting nervous," the Korvax said. "The human ambassador is asking questions." "Let her ask," one of the aliens replied. "What can she do? Humans are powerless here. Still, we should move up the timeline." The bomb is ready. We can plant it in the council chamber tomorrow. Taiho's blood went cold. Tomorrow. They were moving faster than he thought. A sound came from nearby. A rat or some piece of equipment settling. The aliens turned toward his hiding spot. What was that? Taiho held his breath. Then he deliberately knocked over a small container. It clattered to the floor. He stepped out of the shadows, pushing his cleaning cart. Sorry, he said, bowing his head. I didn't know anyone was here. I'm just cleaning. The three terrorists stared at him. Then they laughed. Just a human cleaning slave, the Korvax said. You scared us, little primitive. Finish your work and get out. Yes. Right away. They returned to their conversation, speaking freely now. Why not? He was just a janitor. What could he possibly understand? Taiho cleaned slowly, listening to everything. He learned about the bomb's location. He learned about the timeline. He learned that Commander Drexel was not just ignoring the threat. He was leading it. The fox guarded the henhouse. That night, Taiho returned to his quarters. He locked the door and moved his bed aside. Underneath, hidden in a secret compartment, was everything he had tried to leave behind. A black suit made of materials that could stop plasma fire. Nanoblades that could cut through any known metal. A neural sync helmet that connected directly to his enhanced brain dot project Quicksilver. The program that had made him into something more than human. The program that had cost him everything. He touched the suit and felt its cold surface against his fingers. Dash retirement is over, he whispered. The Unity Summit was in 6 days. The bomb would be planted tomorrow. And the station's security chief was the enemy. Taiho smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. Time to go to work. The first body was found in a maintenance tunnel. A Void Syndicate operative, throat cut so cleanly that he never had time to scream. Security cameras in the area showed nothing unusual. Just static and a gray blur that lasted less than a second. The second body was found in a storage room. Then a third in a ventilation shaft. Then 2 more in an abandoned office. All Syndicate members. All killed silently and quickly. Commander Drexel stood over the 5th body, his yellow eyes burning with rage. His officers surrounded him, looking nervous. How is this possible? Drexel growled. We have cameras everywhere. Motion sensors. Heat detectors. Nothing moves on this station without us knowing. The sensors show nothing, Commander, one officer said. Whatever killed these men, it moves faster than our equipment can track. Nothing moves faster than sensors. Find me answers, or I will start removing your heads one at a time. The officers scattered. Drexel stood alone, staring at the body on the floor. Someone was hunting his people. Someone invisible. Someone impossible. For the first time in his life, Drexel felt something that might have been fear. Ambassador Yuna worked late in her office, reviewing reports and sending messages to Earth. The attacks on Syndicate members had created chaos on the station. Nobody knew what was happening. Security was everywhere, searching for an enemy they could not see. She was so focused on her work, but she didn't hear the door open behind her. A hand covered her mouth. A knife pressed against her throat. Don't scream, a voice whispered. You're coming with us. The commander has questions for you. They dragged her through back corridors, avoiding the main hallways. 3 aliens held her. One was the Korvax officer Taiho had seen in the cargo bay. The others were species she didn't recognize. Their grips were strong enough to leave bruises. They brought her to an interrogation chamber deep in the security section. The room was small and cold, with metal walls and a single chair bolted to the floor. They pushed her into the chair and bound her wrists. Ambassador No Yuna, the Korvax said. You've been asking too many questions about the Void Syndicate. Who told you about us? What do you know? Yuna's heart pounded. but she kept her voice steady. I don't know what you're talking about. The Korvax slapped her. Pain exploded across her face. We know you've been investigating. We know you warned the other humans. Someone has been sabotaging our operations. Someone has been killing our people. You will tell us who. I don't know anything about the killings. I swear. Another slap. Blood filled her mouth. We have ways of making you talk, the Korvax said. He pulled out a device that crackled with electricity. Human nervous systems are so fragile. This will be educational. The lights flickered. All three aliens looked up. The flicker lasted only a moment. Then the lights returned to normal. What was that? One of them asked. Nothing. A power surge. This station is falling apart. The Korvax turned back to Una. Now, where were we? The lights went out completely. Darkness filled the room. Una heard movement. Fast movement. Faster than anything she had ever heard. There were sounds of impact. Grunts of surprise. The crack of breaking bones, then silence. The lights came back on. Una stared in disbelief. All three aliens were on the ground. One was unconscious. One had both arms bent at wrong angles. The third lay still, his neck twisted in a way that meant he would never move again. Standing over them was Kang Taiho. He looked different. He wore a black suit that seemed to absorb light. His face was calm, almost peaceful. In his hands, he held two blades that gleamed like captured starlight. Una whispered. The janitor. Taiho walked over and cut her bindings with one quick motion. Can you walk? I think so. What? How did you? I'll explain later. Right now, we need to move. More guards will be coming. He helped her to her feet. Her legs were shaky, but she could stand. She looked at the bodies on the floor, then at Taiho, the quiet man who mopped floors and kept his head down. The invisible man. How is this possible? She asked. You move so fast. I didn't even see you. That's the point. Nobody sees me until it's too late. They moved through the corridors. Taiho led the way, checking corners and doorways before advancing. Twice, they passed security patrols. Both times, Taiho pulled her into shadows and held perfectly still. The guards walked right past them without noticing. The motion sensors, Una whispered. They should detect us. They detect movement within certain parameters. I know how to move outside those parameters. That's impossible. Most things are impossible until someone does them. They reached a service elevator that led to the lower levels. Taiho pressed the call button and turned to face her. The Void Syndicate is planning to bomb the Unity Summit, he said. Commander Drexel is their leader. He's been using his position to hide their operations. Una's eyes widened. Drexel? The security chief? Yes. He has a bomb hidden somewhere in the station. He plans to detonate it during the summit. Every important diplomat in the galaxy will be there. How do you know all this? The elevator arrived. Taiho guided her inside and pressed the button for the maintenance level. Because I've been watching them, listening to them. They never noticed me. Just another human with a mop. A ghost of a smile crossed his face. They thought I was too slow and stupid to be a threat. But you're not. You're something else entirely. He nodded. Project Quicksilver. It was a classified program on Earth. They took soldiers and changed them. Enhanced their reflexes. Modified their nervous systems. Made them capable of moving faster than electronic sensors could track. Una stared at him. How fast? Fast enough. The elevator stopped. They stepped out into a dark corridor filled with pipes and machinery. This was the station's maintenance level, where the workers nobody noticed kept everything running. I have all eyes here, Taiho said. People I trust. We'll keep you safe until we can figure out our next move. Wait, Yuna grabbed his arm. The summit is in 5 days. We have to warn people. We have to stop this. I know. But Drexel controls security. He controls the sensors, the communications, everything. If we try to warn people openly, he'll silence us before we can speak. Then, what do? Taiho looked at her with eyes that held something ancient and cold. We find the bomb. We stop Drexel. And we do it without anyone knowing until it's too late for them to stop us. That's impossible. 2 people against an army. I've done impossible things before. He started walking. Stay behind me, Ambassador. I'll show you what a human can really do. Somewhere above them, Commander Drexel was reviewing security footage. Most of it showed nothing useful. Static, empty corridors, equipment malfunctions. But one camera had caught something. A single frame before it went offline. A face. Drexel stared at the image. A human face. The janitor. The slow blood who had knelt before him and apologized. You, Drexel whispered. It's been you all along. He crushed the display screen in his clawed hand. The hunt had just begun. Taiho's face appeared on every screen across Station Luminara. His employee photo, taken 2 years ago when he first arrived. In the image, he looked ordinary, forgettable. Just another human worker. Attention all residents. Commander Drexel's voice boomed through the speakers. This human is wanted for terrorism and murder. He is extremely dangerous. A reward of 100,000 credits will be paid for information leading to his capture. Do not approach him. Report any sightings to security immediately. In the maintenance level, Taiho watched the broadcast on a small portable screen. Beside him, Yuna and Minji listened in silence. 100,000 credits, Minji said. That's more than most people on this station earn in 5 years. Drexel wants me badly. Taiho turned off the screen. He knows I'm the one who's been hunting his people. Now he's turned the whole station against me. What do? Yuna asked. We can't hide forever. And the summit is in 4 days. We don't hide forever. We just hide long enough to find the bomb and make a plan. The maintenance level was a maze of tunnels and equipment rooms that most station residents never saw. It was where the trash got processed, where the sewage got recycled, where all the ugly necessities of running a space station were handled. Nobody wanted to come down here, which made it the perfect hiding place. Minji had set up a small command center in an abandoned storage room. She had computer equipment connected to the station systems through back doors that security didn't know about. I can access some of the security feeds, she said, typing rapidly. But Drexel has increased encryption on everything related to the summit. I can't find any information about where the bomb might be. Keep trying, Taiho said. The bomb has to be somewhere near the council chamber. That's where all the diplomats will gather. A knock came at the door. Everyone tensed. Taiho moved silently to the side of the entrance, a blade appearing in his hand. It's me, a voice said. Torek. Minji checked a small camera she had installed outside. It's Develian. He's alone. Taiho nodded. Minji opened the door. Torek entered quickly, his 4 arms carrying bundles of supplies. Despite being one of the species that usually mocked humans, Torek had always been different. Yuna had helped him once 2 years ago, when other Velians had tried to cheat him out of his trading business. He had never forgotten. I brought food and water, Torek said, setting down the supplies. Also medical equipment. And this, he held up a small data chip. Security patrol schedules for the next 3 days. I had to pay a lot of money for this information. Thank you, Torek, Yuna said. You're taking a great risk helping us. The Velian's compound eyes glittered. You helped me when no one else would. Debt must be repaid. He looked at Taiho. The aliens on this station talk about you like you are a monster. They say you killed 20 Syndicate soldiers with your bare hands. It wasn't 20. And I used blades. They are afraid of you? I have never seen aliens afraid of a human before. It is strange. Torek paused. It is also satisfying. Another person arrived an hour later. Bora was a human woman who worked in the medical section. She was young and nervous, but she came carrying a bag full of medical supplies and drugs. I heard you needed help, she said to Taiho. I don't know what's really going on, but I know what they're saying about you is lies. I've watched you for 2 years. You're not a terrorist. Thank you, Bora. Do you know how to treat combat injuries? She nodded. I've been trained. Why? Because before this is over, someone is going to need stitches. The small group gathered around Minji's computer screens. 5 people against the most powerful security force in the galaxy. The odds were impossible, but impossible was all they had. Tell us the truth, Yuna said to Taiho, about who you really are, about how you can do the things you do. Taiho was silent for a long moment. Then he began to speak. 20 years ago, Earth joined the galactic community. We quickly learned that we were seen as inferior, slow, weak. Other species had been traveling among the stars for thousands of years. They had weapons and technology we couldn't match. If any of them decided to conquer Earth, we would have no way to fight back. He leaned against the wall, his eyes distant. The military created Project Quicksilver, a secret program to develop human soldiers who could match alien capabilities. They took volunteers, soldiers who had nothing left to lose. They changed us, rewrote our nervous systems, implanted technology directly into our brains and bodies. What kind of changes? Minji asked. Our reflexes were enhanced to the point where we could perceive time differently. To us, the world moves slowly. We can see things happening and react before normal people even realize something has occurred. Electronic sensors work by detecting changes over time, but we move between those measurements. We exist in the gaps. How many soldiers were part of this program? Yuna asked. 50 were selected. 47 died during the modification process. Their bodies couldn't handle the changes. Only 3 of us survived. Taiho's voice became quiet. And I'm the only one still alive. What happened to the others? One went insane. The modifications affected his mind. He had to be stopped. The other died during a mission. Enemy fire. Taiho looked at his hands. After that, the program was shut down. The government decided we were too dangerous and too unstable. The 2 survivors were officially listed as deceased. Our records were erased. We were told to disappear. So you became a janitor, Bora said. On a space station full of aliens who hate humans. It seemed fitting. Nobody looks at janitors. Nobody asks questions about the man with the mop. I just wanted to be invisible. To live what remained of my life in peace. But you couldn't ignore what was happening, Yuna said. When you learned about the Syndicate? No, I couldn't. Taiho pushed away from the wall. The modifications have a cost. Every time I push my abilities to the limit, it damages my body. The technology keeping me alive is slowly breaking down. Doctors estimated I have maybe 5 years left. Probably less. Silence filled the room. You're dying, Minji said. And you're still willing to fight. I spent 20 years being invisible. Being nothing. If I'm going to die anyway, I might as well die doing something that matters. Minji returned to her computers with renewed determination. An hour later, she found something. I've been tracking power fluctuations near the council chamber, she said. There's an area that's using more energy than it should. A storage room on level 42. That could be where they're hiding the bomb, Torek said. It's the best lead we have. Taiho studied the map on the screen. The problem is getting there. Drexel has placed guards at every entrance, and the main security hub controls all access to that level. How many guards in the security hub? Yuna asked. According to the patrol schedules Torek provided, approximately 200. All heavily armed, with advanced motion sensors, thermal imaging, and eye surveillance drones. That's impossible, Bora said. Even for you. Taiho smiled. It was not a reassuring smile. The summit is in 4 days. Drexel will plant the bomb tomorrow. Once it's in position, he'll have guards watching it constantly. Our only chance is to get to the security hub, disable his systems, and reach the bomb before he can detonate it. You'll be going alone against 200 soldiers, Ninji said. The odds are insane. I faced worse odds. Taiho began putting on his combat suit. The black material seemed to drink in the light. Besides, they've never faced anyone like me. Minji grabbed his arm. Are you afraid? He considered the question seriously. I've been invisible my whole life, he said. Now they'll see exactly what they've been laughing at. He picked up his blades, his helmet, and walked toward the door. Stay here, he told the others. I'll signal when it's safe. Then he stepped into the darkness, and he was gone. 200 hostile soldiers stood between him and the bomb. The janitor was coming to clean up the mess. The security hub was a fortress built inside the station. Thick walls, reinforced doors. 200 of the best soldiers the Syndicate had to offer, armed with weapons that could cut through starship armor. Motion sensors covered every approach. Thermal cameras watched every shadow. AI drones patrolled the corridors with machine precision. Commander Drexel stood at the center of it all, watching screens that showed feeds from across the station. The human will come here, he said to his officers. He has no choice. This is the only path to the council chamber level. When he arrives, we will destroy him. His officers nodded. They had set the perfect trap. Nothing could get through their defenses. Nothing could move without being detected. Then the first alarm went off. It came from the outer corridor. Sensors showed movement, but by the time the guards turned to look, there was nothing there. Just a gray blur that lasted less than a heartbeat. False alarm, one officer said. The lights went out. Darkness crashed down like a wave. Emergency power kicked in a moment later, filling the hub with dim red light. In that moment of confusion, something moved through the room. The first soldier died before he could raise his weapon. The second fell with a blade in his throat. The third, fourth, and fifth collapsed in rapid succession, their bodies hitting the floor before the sound of the first death had finished echoing. He's here, someone screamed. Open fire! Weapons blazed. Plasma bolts and projectile rounds filled the air. Soldiers fired at shadows, at movement, at anything that seemed wrong. They hit walls. They hit equipment. They hit each other. But they did not hit Taiho. He moved between the bullets. Not around them. Between them. To his enhanced perception, the projectiles seemed to drift through the air like falling leaves. He could see where they would be, and simply not be there when they arrived. He flowed through the chaos like water through rocks. A squad of 6 soldiers formed a defensive position near the main console. They fired in coordinated bursts, covering all angles. Taiho approached them from above, dropping from the ceiling like a shadow. His blade sang through the air. In 3.2 seconds, all 6 were down. Fall back, an officer shouted. Regroup at the secondary position. Soldiers retreated through doorways and down corridors. They tried to establish new defensive lines. But Taiho was faster. He appeared behind them, beside them, in front of them. Every time they turned to face him, he was already somewhere else. The eye drones targeted him with perfect accuracy. Their weapon systems tracked his heat signature and predicted his movements. They fired exactly where he should have been. But he was never there. He moved in patterns that no human should be able to move. Patterns that machines could not predict because they violated the basic assumptions of how organic beings functioned. One by one, the drones fell, cut from the air, disabled, destroyed. 40 soldiers remained standing, then 30, then 20. Commander Drexel watched his army fall apart. This was impossible. This was wrong. Humans were slow. Humans were weak. Humans were nothing but servants and slaves. How could one human do this? Enough! Drexel roared. He stepped forward, holding a plasma cannon that required 4 arms to lift. The weapon was designed to destroy vehicles. He had brought it specifically for this moment. Face me, human. Stop hiding in the shadows like a coward. The lights stabilized. The chaos settled. And there, standing in the center of the destroyed security hub, was Kang Taiho. His black suit was torn in several places. Blood seeped from cuts on his arms and face. His breathing was heavy, but he was still standing. Still alive. Around him, nearly 200 soldiers lay on the ground. Some unconscious, some wounded, some never to rise again. You, Drexel hissed. You are just a janitor, a cleaning slave. How is this possible? Taiho wiped blood from his lips. You spent so long looking down on humans that you never thought to look closely. We're not slow. We're not weak. We're just patient. We watch. We learn. We wait. And when the time comes, we move. Drexel raised his plasma cannon. Impressive speech. Now die. He fired. The plasma bolt should have vaporized Taiho where he stood. But Taiho was no longer standing there. He had moved the instant Drexel's finger tightened on the trigger. Not after the shot. Before it, Drexel spun, trying to track him. Taiho was already behind him. A blade flashed. The plasma cannon fell to the ground in pieces. The Korvax roared and swung his clawed arms. He was fast for his species. Terrifyingly fast. Any normal human would have been torn apart. Taiho ducked under the first swing, sidestepped the second. On the third, he moved inside Drexel's reach and struck. Once, twice, 3 times. Bones cracked. Drexel's arms fell limp at his sides, broken in multiple places. The commander of the Void Syndicate collapsed to his knees, howling in pain and rage. Kill me then, he spat. Finish it. Not yet. Taiho grabbed him by the throat. The bomb. Where is it? What's the disarm code? Drexel laughed. It was a wet, ugly sound. The bomb is already armed. It will detonate in 3 minutes. And the disarm code is locked to my biometrics. My voice, my heartbeat, my neural patterns. You cannot stop it. Even if you kill me, it will still explode. In the maintenance level, Minji heard everything through Taiho's communication link. Her fingers flew across her keyboard. Taiho, I'm looking at the bomb schematics. There's one way to disarm it manually. You have to remove the detonation core before the trigger mechanism activates. But the timing window is impossible. You'd have to move in 0.003 seconds. 0.003 of a second. It can't be done. Not even for you. Taiho looked at Drexel, then at the door leading to the council chamber level. Tell the others to evacuate, he said. Get everyone to the escape pods. What about you? Just do it, Minji. He ran. The council chamber was 3 levels above. Taiho moved faster than he had ever moved before. Faster than his body was designed to handle. He felt something tear inside him. Blood vessels rupturing. Muscles straining past their limits. He found the bomb in a storage room exactly where Minji had predicted. It was a small device, no larger than a briefcase. The display showed 90 seconds remaining. Taiho knelt beside it and studied the mechanism. The trigger was visible behind a thin metal casing. He could see the detonation core, a cylinder of glowing material that would destroy half the station when it ignited. 60 seconds. Minji, talk me through this. The core is connected to the trigger by a microfilament. When the countdown reaches 0, the filament will send an activation pulse. You have to remove the core before the pulse travels from the trigger to the core. How long does the pulse take to travel? 0.003 seconds. 30 seconds. Taiho closed his eyes. He reached deep inside himself, to the place where the technology lived. The modifications that had cost 47 lives. The enhancements that were slowly killing him. He had always held back. Always been careful not to push too far. Because every time he exceeded his limits, his remaining time grew shorter. But there was no time left to save. 10 seconds. He opened his eyes. They blazed silver, brighter than they had ever been. Time slowed. The world around him became a frozen photograph. He could see dust particles hanging motionless in the air. He could see the countdown display between numbers. He could see everything with perfect clarity. 0. The trigger fired. The activation pulse began its journey. Taiho's hand moved. Not fast. Faster. Faster than electronics. Faster than light itself seemed to allow. His fingers closed around the detonation core and pulled. The core came free. The pulse reached its destination and found nothing to activate. The bomb went dark. Taiho collapsed beside the dead device, blood streaming from his eyes and nose. His body shook with tremors. The cost of pushing Quicksilver beyond anything it was designed to do. But he was smiling. Minji, he whispered into his com. It's done. 3 days later, the Unity Summit proceeded as planned. Diplomats from every species in the galaxy gathered in the council chamber, unaware of how close they had come to death. Commander Drexel was arrested and imprisoned. The Void Syndicate was dismantled. Their agents across the station were identified and removed. Ambassador Yuna stood before the Galactic Council and told them everything. She told them about the conspiracy, about the bomb, about the human janitor who had saved them all. The council was silent for a long time. Then, one by one, the alien representatives rose from their seats and bowed their heads. It was a gesture of respect that had never been given to a human before. Taiho watched from a recovery bed in the medical center. Bora had patched him up as best she could. The damage was severe. His remaining time had shortened considerably, but he was alive. You're a hero, Yuna told him when she came to visit. The whole galaxy knows what you did. I'm not a hero. I'm just a janitor who was in the right place at the right time. No, she took his hand. You're so much more than that. And now everyone knows it. A week later, Taiho sat in the Grand Commerce Hall, not pushing a mop, not wearing a faded gray jumpsuit. He sat at a table in the center of the hall, wearing clean clothes and looking out at the passing crowds. Aliens who had mocked humans for decades now looked at them differently. They saw the cooks and the engineers and the cleaners, and they wondered, what else were these humans hiding? What else were they capable of? A Velian merchant approached Taiho's table nervously. It was one of the same merchants who had called him slow blood months ago. May I buy you a drink? The Velian asked. Taiho looked at him for a long moment. Then he smiled softly and nodded. I'd like that. Across the station, humans continued their work. They mopped floors and fixed machines and prepared food. Invisible, unremarkable, underestimated, just the way they preferred it. Because now the galaxy knew a secret that should have been obvious from the start. Humans were patient. Humans were adaptable. And when pushed to the edge, humans could do the impossible. They had laughed at the human janitor. They would never laugh again.